Ladies and gentlemen, this is a very, very sad story. She was only 14 years old and she was in a hospital to be kept safe.
We were excluded and completely disempowered. She was isolated, scared and alone. However this is framed, it is fundamentally wrong and needs to change.
Ruth was just 14 years old.
Only 15 minutes. 15 minutes was all it took. And the person responsible successfully escaped to Ghana. This is a story that breaks my heart, and I'm going to go into details very soon. So welcome to another episode of Struck Off, a series on this channel where we discuss things that health professionals did that nearly got them in trouble, or things that health professionals did that got them in trouble. And then we'll pick a few lessons from this. So Ruth was just a 14-year-old, a beautiful 14-year-old girl who was very bright. She loved life, but she was battling a severe eating disorder known as anorexia. For those of you who know, you know anorexia is classified as a mental health disorder. So it obviously does come with mental health struggles. Ruth's parents were doctors. They loved her deeply. They fought for her care. But we know the UK, they were forced to now place Ruth in a specialist facility, but unfortunately it was not close to home because the NHS could not find Ruth a bed in a mental health facility that was close to their home. So they were forced to put her somewhere which was not close to home. Now, this place that they put Ruth was called Huntercombe Hospital. I don't know if I'm saying the name right. But before arriving at Huntercombe Hospital, Ruth had gone through a very traumatic experience in a hospital known as Salisbury Hospital. Over there, at a point in time, you know, with anorexia, you strongly do not want to eat. It's like you don't want to eat. And she was at risk of having organ failure. It was so bad. At that point in time, it was so bad. So they had to insert an NG tube to give her food through, you know, like a nasogastric tube. What happened was very traumatic. Unfortunately, the NG tube was placed wrongly. It was mistakenly placed in Ruth's lungs. And so the food, instead of going through her stomach or her gut, went through her lungs. This is life-threatening. She could aspirate and, you know, it could even be fatal. This incident really shook Ruth. And already with somebody who has mental health issues and you guys say you're claiming to help her and you do this or this happens, obviously she became more distressed, and I strongly believe that she would now not trust healthcare professionals even, right? So that was the incident that happened before the NHS placed her at Huntercombe Hospital. Let me also say that Huntercombe Hospital is not an NHS trust, okay? So apparently it is privately owned mental health facility, but the NHS sometimes, because they can be short of bed in NHS trust, they buy beds in some of these private facilities for their own patients. So it could be privately owned, but the NHS has a bed over there. You understand? Now, this is 2022 and Ruth is currently at Huntercombe Hospital and she was at a Thames ward. This was supposed to be a specialist mental health facility for young people, but Huntercombe also had a not so good track record.
The testimonies of patients exposed the overuse of restraint and medication, along with inadequate staffing and training.
The Care Quality Commission had already issued concerns about this particular mental health facility. They had, you know, complained that they had poor staffing levels, inadequate training and poor management and all of that. Families were always complaining about, you know, Huntercombe Mental Health Hospital, and whistleblowers had always raised alarms and all of that. So Huntercombe did not have good reviews, basically. So I don't know why Ruth ended up there in 2022. Now, on February 12, 2022, just 2 days to Valentine's Day, something traumatic, something horrific happened. Ruth, because of her mental health issues, has always been assigned one-to-one support. Okay, so people are actually paid to stay with Ruth one-to-one. I mean, Ruth did not have a disability where she could not bath or anything, but you are just there to watch her and keep her safe, because you don't trust her being alone. So that is why you are paid to be there, just one-to-one support. And if you work in a nursing home, I'm sure you have seen this before. There are so many people that are on one-to-one support. Sometimes these people, they are at risk of suicides. Sometimes these people are people that can be very aggressive, and so sometimes they just need an extra support there. I mean, in the nursing home that I used to work, we used to have several residents that had one-to-one support. So this is quite common, okay? The person who was assigned to Ruth on the 12th of February 2022 to was a gentleman called Ebu Echampong. And if you're Ghanaian, you know this is clearly a Ghanaian name. It's Ebu Echampong. We know a few things about Ebu Echampong. One, we know for sure that Ebu Echampong was not this person's real name. We now know that Ebu Echampong apparently had entered the UK on a visit visa. Ebu Echampong did not have a work visa. Ebu Echampong was hired through an agency called Platinum, which supplied temporary staff to healthcare facilities. So let's say you are supposed to go to work and you call in sick and your facility or your hospital or your care home does not have anyone to work to replace you, they would call some of these, staffing agencies to give them a temporary staff for the day. So Platinum was one of such agencies, and Ebu Echampong was working for them. Now we know that Ebu Echampong's documents were fake. We know that his ID was stolen from another person. We also know very well that Ebu Echampong had no prior hospital experience and had only completed a 1-day online training prior to this shift. In simple terms, Ebu Echampong was not supposed to be a one-to-one support worker. On the day of the incident, Ruth was supposed to be on a level 3 observation, meaning a staff member was supposed to be with her at all times. Because from what we know, Ruth had earlier on attempted to take her own life. So now she needed to be on full one-to-one support. Somebody should be watching her at all times, because the least chance she gets, she may harm herself. That evening, this man, Ebu Echampong, was the one who was assigned to watch Ruth. Ebu Echampong, what did he do? He left the room without asking another staff member to keep watch over Ruth. He just left the room. Nobody stepped in to replace him, and he was gone for a good 15 minutes. Do you know the things that can happen in 15 minutes? When they finally found Ruth, they realized that she was unconscious. She had harmed herself and she had suffered a very terrible brain injury from lack of oxygen. So they rushed Ruth to John Radcliffe Hospital in Oxford. But 2 days later, on the 14th of February, Ruth passed away. Now, where is Ebu Echampong? Ebu Echampong, realizing what has happened, did not even stay to face any questions. As soon as he got to know of Ruth's death, Ebu Echampong picked the next flight from Heathrow Airport to Accra, Ghana. Tracing the fake Ebu Echampong's mobile records, they were able to know that he traveled as soon as he got to know to Ghana. He disappeared to Ghana. What saddens my heart is the parents. Like I said, these parents are doctors, so they are health professionals. It's sad because the entire time they were busy taking care of other people. They were busy keeping other people safe and healthy and alive. And dear ward, they lost their child. How did somebody with fake documents get a job in a mental health hospital? Why weren't his papers properly checked? Why did the agency send an untrained worker for such a critical role? And why was a facility that the CQC had said did not meet a lot of their, standard, be taking care of or be hosting a vulnerable patient like Ruth? I went to braid my hair about 3-4 years ago with this lady, a black lady, African lady, and she was telling me how much she makes from, braiding of hair compared with doing care work. And she told me that, there's this care company or care agency she works with. They are based in England. Bear in mind, we are having the conversation in Northern Ireland. And she said, she's registered with them because they are also eligible to work here in Northern Ireland and the pay is very good. I said, okay, so what happens? Did you get training and all of that? She said, no. I said, she said the day that she decided to join them, that was the day she started. They gave her first shift. And I'm like, so how did they give you your uniform? Did they post it? She said, no, they told me to go in my attire and that they will explain to the facility. And she did not know that was wrong, but as a health professional, I was like, what? I was like, she should be very careful of that agency because I don't think they're doing the right thing. You should be trained. You should have done some mandatory trainings, and some of them can be online, but there are others that should be done in person. You should pass an interview. You should be trained before you pick such shifts. You register with the agency the same day, they give you a shift the same. That is an agency that does not care about the people, they only care about their money. And if there's such agency that you're assigned to, you should be very careful. You should make sure your trainings are up to date. There are some trainings that you have to do every 6 months. There are some trainings that you have to do yearly, just to keep your mind refreshed and, to keep you updated on what's happening. So such cases don't happen. Ruth was not supposed to die. It was just 15 minutes. He left. I'm sure he thinks, it's okay. And I realized that some people think one-to-one support work is easy because they think, this person, especially with people like Ruth who can walk, who can eat themselves, who can attend to their own toileting needs. People think, one-to-one is easy. It's not easy. Look at what happened. He did not understand why he was there. He did not understand that this person is at risk of committing suicide. So I should be there and take care of the person. And now look, we've lost somebody. Whilst the parents were taking care of other people, keeping other people safe and healthy. Now look at what has happened. Now, lessons learned. Don't come to the UK university visa thinking that you can fraudulently acquire ID cards and then, pick some shit. This is human lives we are talking about. Look at what has happened now. You see, this person has not been extradited just yet. But I have a feeling that even if it takes 15 years, the UK police or the UK law enforcement agency will fish out this person. Remember, there was a CCTV camera in the hospital, the Huntercombe hospital. That is how come they were able to tell that Ebo Echampong left Ruth's room and stayed outside the room for about 15 minutes. That's when everything happened. Okay? So the CCTV camera will obviously capture Ebo Echampong, the fake Ebo Echampong's face. Now, at Heathrow, remember they were able to track that he has left to Ghana through Heathrow. Now, at Heathrow as well, there are cameras everywhere. They would also be able to trace, I'm sure they probably have exactly how Ebo Echampong looks. And also, the agency, although they did not do their checks well, they also probably have Ebo Echampong's picture because they probably make an ID for him with his picture on it. So they also have his picture. And with technology and AI now, fake Ebo Echampong cannot hide much. They are definitely going to fish him out. And I also strongly believe that they have more, although the inquest did not state so much, I also probably know that they have more details about Ebo Echampong than they are letting us know. Because if they let us know, probably Ebo Echampong would now be very careful and they might not catch him. You don't want to end up in this. I know you're looking for some fast cash. That is why you are not supposed to work on a visit visa. And even if you want to do something healthcare with human lives at risk. Now look, as to exactly what Ruth did to end her life, it is not said, but it only said she suffered brain injury from lack of oxygen. And usually they keep some of these information out of the public just so that, just for the sake of the parent, and sometimes also because there are other people like Ruth as well, and they're also looking for ways to end their lives so that there's no imitation. For healthcare workers, you should follow observation protocols to the latter, okay? Every minute of neglect can cost a life. We've all seen what has happened. This is a lesson to all of us. If you're assigned to somebody who is one-to-one and at risk of suicidal ideations and you cannot take care of the person, just say you're not happy to do that. They might not be happy, but they'll appreciate it more than you said it, because if something comes back, it'll fall on you. If you're not, you don't think you can stay in one room with one person no. If you're not trained, if your training is not updated, do not do things that you cannot do. For migrants, you already know, don't do this. Don't come to university visa intending to come and work illegally. For the general public, if you have friends, if you have family members in mental health institutions or in such institutions, try to visit them often and try to check to see if the facility are meeting the right standards. Are they doing what is right? Okay, do they meet the standards? You should whistleblow if you think there's a need to do that and all of that. Guys, what do you think about this story? I feel like this is just a horrible thing that could have been avoided. Horrible. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Let me know other lessons that you have learned from this story that I did not make mention of. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.